is what I voted for, baby. President Trump now calls in, yes, the Marines. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, the situation now in Los Angeles, holy mackerel. It has really, really escalated. It is now not just an insurrection and a riot that is spreading, but now it has become a full-blown political battle between California, the federal government, the Democratic Party, and the United States of America. So here is now the absolute latest. Last night, 2,000 National Guard troops were finally brought into Los Angeles, California. The first wave of the 2,000 has now arrived. In that, with a beefed up federal military presence, combined now with law enforcement on high alert, there were more protests all throughout the day, all throughout the night. Tens of thousands of pro-illegal alien protesters, again, waving the Mexican flags, burning the American flag, with signs saying this is stolen land, i.e. California, LA belongs to Mexico. It continued again, in which protesters battled police officers, law enforcement, rocks were thrown at them, bricks were pelted at them, more bottles. Apparently it got very bad at one point last night. There were so many fireworks being thrown at law enforcement and law enforcement vehicles. They said it looked like the 4th of July. It was just fireworks lighting up the sky. So, with organizers now saying there's going to be at least 24 more protests just in LA alone over the next couple of days, President Trump pulled the proverbial trigger. As I said in my opening, this is what I voted for. He now has ordered Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, to deploy over 700 Marines mostly from Camp Pendleton. They are going to be sent to the greater Los Angeles area. They are there to protect federal property, in particular, ICE detention facilities that are now constantly being sieged. They're under siege. They are constantly being attacked, surrounded by all of these anti-ICE pro-criminal protesters and rioters. They also are going to be there to reinforce federal personnel, including the National Guard. So the military presence is now being beefed up all across Los Angeles. And this broke late last night. Trump is now considering sending in another 2,000 National Guard troops. He's federalized the California National Guard, and so there's already the first wave of 2,000, the 700 Marines, but he also now is talking about another 2,000 in order to try to crush and end this massive civil unrest. Now, if they go ahead with that last batch of 2,000, this would mean 5,000 U.S. troops, forces in Los Angeles. Gavin Newsom has now come out, and when I say blasted Trump, you want to talk about incitement. You want to talk about being inflammatory, incendiary. Gavin Newsom now has gone to social media and also to the mainstream media, the corporate media, saying that this is a, quote, meaningful step towards establishing authoritarianism and a dictatorship in America. Newsom now is fanning the flames of opposition to Trump, to ICE, and to the Marines and the National Guard forces in California, saying Trump now is establishing a dictatorship, and that he, Gavin Newsom, I swear to you, is now standing in the way of the Fourth Reich, of this Hitler that is now rising amongst us. He also went even further. Gavin Newsom then came out and said that we are now heading towards a civil war, that Trump is being so reckless by sending in these troops, that this is so inciting the illegal alien community in Los Angeles and in California, that this is going to escalate the situation, and that now you are going to see not just massive unrest, not just massive opposition, but now even mass violence that he fears could lead to a civil war that will tear California and the United States apart. It's a threat. It's an open threat. Listen now to Gavin Newsom saying Trump is sending in the National Guard and the Marines for one reason and one reason only. He wants war, a civil war. Roll cut 7, Mike.
We'll hold up everybody to a higher level of accountability, but that's not what Trump is after. He's not for peacemaking. He's here for war. He wants a civil war on the street.
So he wants a civil war on the streets. Now, what is amazing in all of this, and the country is looking at this in absolute stunned horror, shock, is the Democrats from their top leadership in Congress across the country, Gavin Newsom, as I like to call him, and Trump likes to call him, whether it's that commie Karen Bass, the crazy mayor of L.A., they're openly siding with the rioters and the insurrectionists. They are siding with the J7 insurrectionists and the violent rioters while L.A. burns. And they are now essentially calling for more protests, more opposition to ICE, more people to come out on the streets. They are pouring gasoline on the fire now. And listen to President Trump. He was asked by Peter Doocy, what do you have to say? The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, now says, you want a civil war? You are going to start a civil war. Roll cut 6, a mic.
Well, what do you make of the fact that he says you want a civil war on the streets of America?
No, it's just the opposite. I don't want a civil war. A civil war would happen if you left it to people like him. And I liked him. You know, I always got along with him. Never had a problem with him. But he's grossly incompetent.
Well, he is grossly incompetent, but he's also, I'm telling you, reckless and irresponsible and extremely dangerous. The Democrats now are playing with some serious fire. And to me, this is, someone better call him up and say, hey, buddy, you better knock it off. Because when you start talking about civil war and you start talking about blood on the streets, you are fomenting violence. You are encouraging violence. And this thing could blow. This thing is now a powder keg. You've got gangs now on the streets. You've got illegal aliens on the streets. You've got Antifa organizers, many of whom, I'm going to get to this later in the show, literally are being paid, some of them up to $12,000 a week, ads on Craigslist saying, are you a tough badass? Do you want to go in there and riot in L.A.? Well, if you're really good, we pay up to $12,500 a week plus all expenses. I'm not kidding, really. Between $6,000 to $12,000. So you've got paid agitators, you've got Antifa, you've got some serious thugs down there. Communist Party is now very active down there. The Socialist Party is very active down there. This thing could blow at any moment. And all Gavin Newsom now is doing is just fanning the flames. Listen to him now, mocking Pete Hegseth, the 700 Marines, and now going after Trump and Tom Homan. Roll cut 8, Mike.
Pete Hegseth's a joke. He's a joke. Everybody knows it. So in over his head. What an embarrassment. That's just guy's weakness masquerading as strength. I don't even know he masquerades as strength. I mean, serious moment. I mean, this Human guy, these guys, it's the band of misfits.
Yeah.
It really is. This is serious. The people's lives are at stake. The reputation of this country is at stake. Great American cities and states. It's not just, this is a preview for things to come. This isn't about L.A. per se. It's about us today. It's about you, everyone watching tomorrow. I promise you. I mean, this guy's unhinged. Donald Trump is unhinged right now. And this is just another proof point of that.
It's just, I mean, honestly, this guy's got to go. Newsom is to me now a clear threat to the public safety, to the law and order of California. This guy to me is really an arsonist. He's a political arsonist. And he is the one that allowed California to become a sanctuary state. He is the one that aided and abetted this massive invasion of illegal aliens. He is the one that refuses to condemn the insurrectionists and the rioters and the attacks on law enforcement and the burning of cars and the attacks on federal buildings. Newsom has to go. RKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to ask all of you, huge developments now over the last 24 hours. Trump realizes now essentially the country and his presidency is at stake. That's why he's now deployed 2,000 National Guard troops. He's federalized the California National Guard. They are now in Los Angeles as I speak to you. He now has ordered Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, to send in an additional 700 active duty Marines. So they're on their way. Some have already landed, boots on the ground. Others are coming. They are reinforcing security at federal buildings and, of course, helping out reinforcing security for ICE, for federal law enforcement, and for the National Guard troops already there. Do you agree with Trump's response? To me, this is what I voted for. This is exactly what I want. Now, here is what I hope happens. And I think this is Trump's long-term plan, and I hope it is his long-term plan. Keep the National Guard troops and the Marines in Los Angeles until the civil unrest, these insurrectionists and these riots are completely quelled. But not just that this unrest is now finally put to an end. I want the Marines and I want the National Guard to stay in L.A. until every single illegal alien is deported. Not just from L.A., but from all of California. In other words, if Gavin Newsom refuses to protect the people of Los Angeles and the people of California, the law-abiding American citizens, and has allowed his state to be utterly overrun and inundated with millions and millions and millions of illegal aliens. Well, you know what? This is how you get around the sanctuary state. This is how you get around sanctuary cities. Send in the National Guard. If need be, send in the Marines. And this time, no one's going to harass these ICE agents. And they just go in street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, town by town, and they just clean them out. One illegal after another, after another, after another. In other words, use the American military as part of your deportation force in the name of national security and repelling this massive invasion at the border. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. And let me be brutally honest with you, like I'm in the confessional. I think all of this talk now, and it is very irresponsible talk, it is frankly dangerous talk, of a civil war. And this is coming now from Democrat leaders in Congress. The governor of California, for God's sake. It's now spilled over into pop culture. I'm going to play a cut for you very soon from The View. Whoopi Goldberg, Sonny Hostin. This idea now that if you federalize the National Guard and you send them to these sanctuary cities, you can see the fear that the Democrats have. Because now they're realizing, OMG, what if it's just not for a couple of days or a week to stop the unrest? What if they stay? And by staying, they guarantee that ICE can do operation after operation after operation unmolested, without being harassed and blocked. And they can actually start deporting millions of these illegals out. There goes the Democrats' power. There goes their base. And that's why now they are going berserk. Listen now to Whoopi Goldberg and Sonny Hostin. The buzzwords, the phrase is civil war. They're now playing with fire in the name, and again, remember, to protect gangbangers, drug dealers, child sex predators, literally murderers and rapists. And to protect them, they're now saying it's time to take it to the streets. Listen now to Whoopi Goldberg and Sonny Hostin on The View saying Trump's decision to federalize the California National Guard and to send in 2,000 of them, these National Guard troops, it's actually 2,100. It's a huge step now towards a repeat of 1861. Roll cut 19, Mike.
I think what really matters from sort of a long view here is the fact that he is militarizing and deploying the Guard for the purpose of policing Americans' protest activity, right? Our freedom of speech, our freedom of assembly. And there's a very big, stark demarcation between military troops and law enforcement, public law enforcement, civilian law enforcement. Right. And you are an army turned inside to police its citizens can cause chaos, fascism. And so I think that's the way, and civil war. Yeah. I think that's the way we need to look at it, because deploying the National Guard is supposed to be a last resort. But what this president is doing is that he's saying he's going to deploy them anywhere in this country where there is protest. So that is certainly not a last resort use of military troops. These people are crazy. Like, I'm telling you, they're genuinely, they're absolutely nuts. Like, this is, I cannot tell you how irresponsible this is. You think Donald Trump is just, there's a protest, send in the Guard, crush them. Why is he sending in the National Guard? Because for hours and hours and hours, and now we know it's been definitively proven, the governor of California, Newsom, and Karen Bass, that crazy mayor of Los Angeles, refused to send in law enforcement when ICE was now being attacked by demonstrators, these anti-ICE activists. When rocks were being thrown at them, bottles, Molotov cocktails, fireworks, their vehicles set on fire, when they surrounded their building and then literally tried to storm it. Because their goal was they wanted these activists to kick ICE out of LA, to obstruct and prevent them from making any arrests whatsoever and to start deporting the illegals. And now Trump has said, you know what? You want to play that game? Now I'm sending in the army. I'm sending in the military. And now ICE is going to deport as many illegals as they want. Your calls next. 6:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Should Trump have sent in the National Guard, and now 700 Marines to buttress the National Guard? Do you support his decision now
to deploy the U.S. military to quell the civil unrest in L.A., and I think in many ways send a message to other blue cities, other blue states, other sanctuary jurisdictions. If things get out of hand, this is exactly what's going to happen to you. So you better keep your people under control when ICE comes in and does their targeted operations. Do you support it? Yes or no? Or do you agree with Gavin Newsom and the media and the Democratic Party that this is inflammatory, incendiary on the part of Trump, a provocative escalation, and that this may actually lead, their words, not mine, to a civil war? 617-266-6868. Susie in Carlisle. You're going to start us off, Susie. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Call. I am from Thousand Oaks, California. I was born in beautiful Burbank, California, and guess what? 61 years ago, which is when I was born, California was the state that everybody wanted to go to. It was beautiful. You could ski in the morning and surf in the afternoon. You could go to wine country. You could go, everywhere in that state was absolutely beautiful. People respected each other. People, it's hard. It's heartbreaking to see how this state, the Golden State, has deteriorated and devolved into this mass chaotic hysteria. Now, as for the National Guard, there's a reason why it is called the National Guard, because we are a nation. And guess what? That is supposed to be their primary focus, is the nation. When they were being sent over to Iraq and Afghanistan and all that stuff, that wasn't National Guard. That was International Guard at that point. Second of all, the Marines, think about how absolutely it's disgusting that the president had to call in the Marines in order to support the National Guard because the governor of the state of California, Newsom, has absolutely no desire to help that state, to improve that state. And yes, they are worried that their possible future voters are going to be deported. But people, we have to keep a level head here. Everybody needs to take a deep breath. And when they're talking the hysteria of civil war, first and foremost, a civil war would mean it's between civilians of this nation. I don't know about you, but the numbers are on our side that we're supporting President Trump. I support him 100%. I believe in him, and I truly, truly would like, somebody to start arresting some of these lunatic governors who are running amok of our nation.
I agree. Susie, I agree with every single word. Every single word. By the way, latest polling has come out. Trump has massive support now on deportations, on immigration, on the border, on what he's doing in California. The country is behind him almost 90%. It's no longer even 80-20. It's now becoming 90-10. And look, you touched on it. Gavin Newsom is essentially telling the illegal aliens of Los Angeles and California, I want you guys to riot. I want you guys to attack law enforcement. I want you to keep burning cars. I want you to keep throwing bottles. I don't know if you saw the latest. I put it up on X last night. This story broke yesterday as well. It's unbelievable. They have now caught on camera, and it's been widely reported now, that these so-called protesters, okay, these rioters, had trucks come in with cinder blocks. Okay, these big mother cement blocks. It was organized. It's planned. It's all funded. And they took these cement blocks where they were strategically placed, and they had them on overpasses. And so when the police were driving in their vehicles, they would throw these massive cement blocks onto the vehicles underneath, smashing their windshields, smashing their cars. The police are saying, we could have been killed. but could have been killed. That's attempted murder. And get nothing from Gavin Newsom. He hasn't condemned it. He hasn't condemned the rioting, the looting, the burning, the attacks on the federal buildings, on ICE detention facilities, on federal officers and law enforcement. He's lost control of the biggest city in California, one of the biggest cities in America. And he's blaming Trump because Trump is the only one who's actually doing something. And remember, Susie, this is the clown, Gavin Newsom, just 6 months ago, and he really is a clown, who the fire hydrants had no water in them when they had that big wildfire at the Palisades. So some of the biggest prime real estate in the world is going up in smoke, and you guys didn't have any water in the fire hydrants? Like, this is what honestly, what an incompetent, buffoon this guy is. But he goes in there with his slicked back hair, and he thinks he's, he's some kind of a wannabe actor with his stupid sunglasses. And now he's doing this tough guy routine with Tom Homan. I don't know if you've seen this, Susie. You want to arrest me, tough guy? Come on, come and arrest me. I dare you. Come and arrest me. And the country is looking at him and saying, you are an idiot. Your city is being burned to the ground. Illegals are burning the American flag, waving the Mexican flag, chanting death to America, Viva Mexico, and kill ICE or F ICE. And you've aided and abetted this. You've enabled these riots. You've enabled these invaders to pour into your state year after year after year. I mean, Susie, you can't make this up. And look, your larger point, I'm telling you, my dad, when he did business trips, would often go to California in the 1980s and the 1990s. He took picture after, he went everywhere. He went to San Francisco. He went to San Diego. He went to LA. He went to Northern California. He went into the interior wine country. It didn't matter. Every time he came back, he would show me the pictures. He took picture after picture. Honest to God, I thought this is paradise on earth. My dad would come back and say, there's nothing more beautiful than Southern California. My dad had been to over, 50, 60 countries around the world. And he said it to me in Croatian. He always spoke to me in English, but this phrase it's very good. It's very well delivered in Croatian. So a few times he would give me a Croatian phrase that God must be an American. That's what he said to me. He goes, you look at a place like this. It's got everything. As you said it, it's got skiing. It's got surfing. It's got the beach. It's got the incredible weather. It's got, what do you want? It's got wine. It's got everything. It's literally everything. He said he would go around and marvel at the lawns and how well the grass was taken care of, how clean California was, how safe California was, how prosperous, how ordered, how friendly, how happy everybody was. And in 25 years? 25 years of open borders and democratic misrule? It's become a third world dump. They've turned it into a northern Tijuana. And now they're literally waving the flag of a northern Tijuana. And so Trump is saying, no, it's over. And just as the illegals came in, now they're going to go out. And look who the Democrats are siding with. They're siding with the rioters, the illegals, and the insurrectionists. Because they're traitors. Gavin Newsom is a traitor. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, fourth day and night of rioting in Los Angeles. No end in sight. Anti-ICE activists now say they are planning dozens, literally dozens, of more protests and riots to come over the next couple of days. President Trump now has sent in the National Guard. He now is also deploying over 700 U.S. Marines. Active duty Marines are now going to be sent as well. The left is screaming They are now saying we are on the road to a potential civil war. That's their word, straight from the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and it's now being echoed by Democrat after Democrat. So, let me ask you, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Do you believe the LA riots will eventually lead to a civil war? In other words, on this, are the Democrats right? A, yes. B, no. I want to hear from you. I hope the answer is B. I want the answer to be B. And frankly, that's why I'm happy Trump is going in heavy. And he's also thinking now they're on high alert. Another 2,000 National Guard troops have been told to be put on standby, if need be, to bolster the 2,000 already there and the 700 Marines. So in total, we could have 5,000 U.S. soldiers policing the greater Los Angeles area within a matter of days. As I speak to you now, 2,800 are now in Los Angeles. 617-266-6868. Okay. Do you think these riots will eventually spark a civil war? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X. I was, again, very active on X. You can follow me and vote as well there. My handle, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhner. John in Dunstable. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Jeff, I don't know how the demi-commies are going to have a civil war because they don't believe in guns. But to my point, Jeff, this is their plan to end America as is. They want to start the New World Order by calling for civil war. That's what they're trying to do. I think this is going to be their big push. First thing they should do is arrest new scum, and then go grab Bass, and find out who's ever paying for their foot soldiers. Arrest them. No bail. Throw them in prison like they did the January 6th. No due process, and let them rot in there like they did to the people, the grandmothers and everybody else that they arrested for doing nothing wrong. This is going to spread, Jeff, through all blue states. You mark my words. I hope there's no restriction put on the Marines or the National Guard, and let them go in and do what Marines do. These activists are communists, Jeff, and this has to be stamped out fast. If it's not stamped out fast, and to be quite honest with you, Jeff, if there's thousands upon thousands of these communists out there, that President Trump should put more than 700 or 800 Marines there. This has to be stamped out fast, Jeff. They should let them go and let them do their thing, because that's what Marines do. Marines will stomp them into the ground, and that's what has to happen. And that's how it was in my day, Jeff, and I hope it's the same today.
Well, let me just play a cut, John, to just completely reinforce what you're saying, that this is coordinated, this is planned, this is not see, the media is trying to spin this as this is spontaneous outrage. ICE went into a Home Depot. These were workplace raids. How dare they? And so the community was reacting. No, absolutely not. This was planned. This was premeditated. This was organized. This was very well funded. This was clearly a coordinated campaign. And listen now, this is Connecticut Senator Murphy, Chris Murphy. He goes on MSNBC and he says what starts in LA needs to go to Chicago, Portland, Seattle, Dallas, Atlanta, Boston, Philadelphia, New York. It's got to go over the entire country. It's time for a national uprising. Roll cut 12. Mike.
I mean, obviously, this is a moment where we have to be on the streets all over the country to protest what's happening to our immigrant community, but more broadly to protest what's happening to our democracy. This is the most corrupt administration in the history of the country, and we are going to rise to this moment by being out there on the streets. But ultimately, I think the country sees what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He's looking for a fight. There's nothing in what he is doing that is about peace or about restoring order. He's taking a protest that is relatively isolated. People in Los Angeles over the weekend would tell you that 99% of them went about their day, and it was pretty normal because this is not an invasion that has taken over the entire city. And he's trying to turn a protest that is pretty small into something that involves an even bigger confrontation so that he might actually be able to invoke the Insurrection Act. That would be a defining story of the week if he were to do it.
I mean, it's just incredible. They're trying to portray him as a dictator, as a Hitler, as a fascist. Yet, Eisenhower invoked the Insurrection Act. Lyndon Johnson invoked the Insurrection Act. George H.W. Bush invoked the Insurrection Act. By the way, the Insurrection Act was passed just a couple years after our country was founded. It was blessed by George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison. I could go on and on. Our founding fathers blessed the Insurrection Act, saying, yes, if there's a rebellion or major civil disorder, sometimes you have to call in the military. Duh. But these people, again, he's talking to the low information crowd out there, John. He's saying, no, this guy's a fascist. Now, and notice, is this what we've come to as a country? Like, really? By the way, do you know that much of Ukraine hasn't had much of the war happen to it? Like, this whole idea about, it's mostly in the east and and three cities, Odessa, Kharkiv, and Kiev. But there are many parts of Ukraine that have hardly felt any of the fighting. What I'm saying is, even in a full-blown war, it's not as if the whole country's affected. Who cares? In other words, this idea, well, it only affected downtown L.A. Oh, okay. So hold on. They blocked a major highway. They were setting cars on fire. They were assaulting police officers. They tried to storm a federal ICE building to free illegal aliens. Some of them are literally convicted murderers, child molesters, gangbangers, and drug dealers. They have paralyzed downtown. They're rampaging on the streets. They're lighting cops and cars on fire. It's bedlam down there. Well, people in the suburbs aren't affected by this. Who cares? They're obstructing ICE from being able to deport illegal aliens. They're impeding and obstructing federal law enforcement. It's freaking anarchy. It's an insurrection against federal authority and the laws and sovereignty of the United States. Notice, John, when it came to J6, they didn't say it was just a few steps at the Capitol building. They never said that. Well, it was only one small area of Washington, D.C. that was affected. The other 99% of D.C. and the rest of the entire country, nothing happened. No, they never said that, if you notice. Then, this was an insurrection. They tried to topple the government. MAGA's to blame. Trump's to blame. Start jailing everybody. Grandmothers in Alaska, just jail everybody. So now that you have a real insurrection, suddenly 99% of LA wasn't touched by this. John, it is very clear. They are now inciting more riots, more demonstrations, more insurrection in city after city, state after state. And my question to you, John, is this. Does Trump have, in your view, the intestinal fortitude, the steel spine, if he need be, to call in another 1,000 Marines, another 2,000 Marines, another 3,000 Marines? In other words, if he's got to deploy troops across the country, if need be, to stop and quell this uprising, will Trump do it? Does he have what it takes to do it? What say you?
I think he does have the fortitude to do that, Jeff. And it has to be done. You know, this could be their big stand to, like I said earlier, Jeff, to put the nail in the coffin of the United States of America. And when these scumbags doing what they're doing, I mean, this has to be stopped. This really has to be stopped, Jeff. And he should be sending more than 700 or 800 Marines. I mean, that's a top elite fighting force is a Marine. And he should send more in and just let them go. That's what he has to do, Jeff. And this has to be stopped. And more than that, Jeff, the politicians, all of these communists that are spreading this crap, they have to go to jail. And I'm not talking about arresting them and bailing them out. They have to be thrown in the hole, Jeff, just like they did to January 6th. This will stop it. That's what he has to do. And I don't know if Pam Bondi is going to do it. I don't know what Kash Patel's doing. I don't know what Bongino's doing. But this has to be done, Jeff. The end of America will be coming soon. That's my opinion, Jeff.
This is an attack on civilization. Really, what you're seeing in Los Angeles is the collapse of civilization. I'm sorry, but that's what you have. You have anarchy, you have chaos, you have, animals. They're just rampant with the skull masks and, and torching cars and doing donuts around them. And with, cars burning everywhere and businesses, it's all coming out now. The businesses were just cleaned out. They were looting everything. And they're doing donuts with motorcycles on, and they're waving the Mexican flag. And they're chanting, Viva Mexico, Viva Mexico. This is stolen land. This is burning the American flag as they raise the Mexican flag. You're watching the collapse of civilization. That's what you're watching. And John, thank you very much for that call. And look, it's not hyperbole when they say, communists are manufacturing this or driving this. Just so that you know, here is what the absolute latest is. I talked about Chirla yesterday, which is a key group that is funding this, organizing this, mobilizing these shock troops. Chirla is the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. It is a far left communist group. It is very much in favor of open borders. In fact, it doesn't want any border. It wants to abolish ICE. It wants to abolish the police. So, and they have ties to the Communist Party. But it's not just Chirla. Listen now to this. Another major group involved in terms of organizing, putting out the literature, mobilizing people is the Party of Socialism and Liberation. It's a communist party. It's literally a communist party. The Party of Socialism and Liberation. And this party is funded, and this is the guy who is really funding a lot of what's happening now in Los Angeles. I've mentioned his name a few times in the past. Remember his name. He's now becoming, in a sense, the successor to George Soros. His name is Neville Singham. Okay, or I guess Singham, if you want to just, the full, if you want to phonetically just pronounce it, but it's Singham, Singham, Neville Singham. Now, this guy is a real scumbag. He is a self-proclaimed socialist. He is a billionaire, and he became a billionaire by pushing Chinese propaganda all over the world. He's essentially an agent of communist China. Now, furthermore, and you can look this up, he's open about it. Just punch in his name. He funds a lot of these radical left causes. He is an open admirer of Mao Zedong. He describes himself as a quote-unquote socialist activist with quote-unquote Maoist leanings. He is an admirer of the communist Chinese regime. He is an admirer of the greatest mass murderer of the 20th century. And by great, I mean the greatest number of people killed, Mao. He is funding so much of what's happening in Los Angeles. He is a full-blown communist billionaire. This is an attempted communist takeover of the country. Make no mistake about what's happening. And they've made an unholy alliance with these. By the way, Churla gets a lot of its private funding from Singham. They also get a lot of government money, our taxpayer dollars, federal money and state money from California. But Singham is the guy that's bankrolling a lot of this. So this is a communist Marxist takeover of America. And it's in city after city after city. Antifa is there. Very strong presence. So I want you to ask yourselves, why is the Democratic Party in bed, in alliance with, open alliance with Antifa, Churla, the Socialism and Liberation Party, Neville Singham, George Soros, his son now, who's taken over a lot of his empire, because they hate the United States and they want to destroy the United States. And everybody keeps asking over and over again, why do the Democrats refuse to condemn the violence? It's such a political loser for them. The American people are 80, 85, almost 90% behind Trump. They don't want to see violence on the streets. They don't want to see these riots. They don't want to see this open insurrection. And yet you got Hakeem Jeffrey siding with the rioters. You've got Chuck Schumer siding with the rioters. You've got AOC siding with the rioters. You've got Bernie siding with the rioters. You've got Newsom, Karen Bass. I could go on and on. So why? And the reason is because they are owned, bought, and paid for by these Marxist communist financiers. They've now become a communist Marxist insurrectionist party, a full-blown anti-American party. And so when John says this is a communist takeover, you better believe it's a communist takeover. And that to me is another reason why. Or if you want, an attempted communist coup, an insurrection against the federal government and federal authority. And that's why Trump, if anything, I think he's going to realize 700 is just the tip of the iceberg. He's going to need a lot more because these people want to spread it. They want this in cities all over the country. And in fact, Neville Singham has openly said it. LA is the epicenter. But our goal this Saturday, 14 riots in 14 different American cities. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
Thank you for taking the call, Jeff. And I can tell you if there was ever a time a president needed to address the nation, it is now. He needs to address the nation and to expose Newsom and Bass and the rest of these Democrats, the Democratic Communist Party, for what they are. These are not even riots. These people need to be labeled as Antifa should have been labeled many years ago as terrorist groups and banned. You know, as you see these thousands of people protesting these rioters, you have to ask yourself, don't they work for a living? Are they on any federal subsidies? Well, maybe the federal government should shut them off from those subsidies. Jeff, during the course of American history, as you know, martial law has been declared 68 times. It can be limited. It can be limited to cities. If it gets any worse in L.A., what President Trump should consider is declaring martial law on L.A., put a curfew on them, the whole 9 yards. But, you know, Jeff, this goes on, vilifying the police, but I am a big supporter of the police throughout this country. But the problem here is when they're asked to stand down, the patrolmen's associations and the officers' associations throughout this country should have stood forward and said to these leaders.
CJ, I'm up against the break. Can you please hang on? We're going to go right back to CJ. So I want to ask all of you, is Trump doing the right thing? Do you agree with his decision to send in the National Guard and to send in the Marines? Or do you think he's inciting even more violence and more opposition? 19 on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, I want to go right back to CJ, just a super quick reset. Another night of clashes between anti-ICE rioters and federal law enforcement. It was very ugly again last night. Tear gas had to be used, flashbang grenades, stun grenades. Many law enforcement officers were attacked. Bottles, rocks, cement blocks, you name it. Again, cars were torched. It was another ugly, ugly night all across downtown Los Angeles. And the crowds are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The organizers are vowing days of rage, at least several dozen more so-called protests. The people of Los Angeles now fear that things could careen completely out of control. In response, Trump has now not just deployed 2,100 National Guard troops, he now has also ordered over 700 Marines, active duty Marines, to go into the greater Los Angeles area to protect federal personnel, essentially ICE and these National Guard troops, and federal property like ICE detention facilities. You can cut the tension with a knife. And you have now Gavin Newsom and many prominent Democrats openly talking about a potential civil war. That Trump's decision to send in the Guard and to send in the Marines, they say now could lead to a civil war, a bloodbath on the streets. It is reckless. It is irresponsible. Gavin Newsom needs to be arrested. And I'm telling you, he's playing with fire, and so are many Democrats. But that's me. I want to go right back to CJ in Boston. CJ, you were making the point that when these frontline police officers are being told to back off or stand down by either the police chief or the mayor of LA or the governor of California, that they need to defy them and take on these rabble-rousers and these terrorists and rioters, because if not, this thing like a cancer is going to metastasize. Please, CJ, pick up where you left off.
Jeff, I've spoken to a number of men and women in uniform, the people that defend our streets. They want these illegals gone. They want to protect their cities. If they cannot do their job and they stand down, my advice to them is walk out. Walk out. Walk away from the job that you took an oath to do. Either that or arrest the people that are telling you not to do your job and that are violating the laws of this country. Jeff, it's the last call for the Democratic Communist Party. They realize this. The only movement that they can make forward now is a complete overthrow of our government. And that's what they're doing. People need to recognize this. They need to recognize the Karen Basses, the Newsoms, the Ed Markeys of the world, These are the people that want to undermine our country. They want to overthrow our government. They want to put a one-party system in here federally, as we have here in Massachusetts. That's their ultimate goal here. They're running out of cards to play here. It's last call for the Democrats. They have to revert to violence. So they've used Antifa. They've used Black Lives Matter. These violent groups that should have been declared terrorist organizations many years ago. But they've continued, and they're even going further now. The president can implement a limited martial law in the city of L.A., which would put in place habeas corpus, which would mean as you know, those people arrested wouldn't have access to attorneys, and they could hold them indefinitely. I think that's the last straw, but I would like to see Marines, United States military in Boston, Baltimore, Seattle, Denver, every major city in this country that is protecting these murderers and rapists. We've defended other countries throughout the years. Second World War, we went to war and lost hundreds of thousands. We went to Iraq and Afghanistan to defend the rights of others. And now we're allowing these democratic communists to burn our cities, to burn vehicles, to rape our children, to murder our children. We're allowing this in our own country. And we're going to stand by and watch these elected officials cheer them on. These people need to be arrested, because if Trump does not take a firm stand here, the remaining 3 years of his administration is gone. And I think what the Democrats are fearful of is after Trump's 4 years, there may be a J.D. Vance for 8 years and a Ron DeSantis for 8 years, which would be 20 years of Republicans in the White House. And make no mistake about this, that if it wasn't for Ron DeSantis in Florida, Florida would have been another California. That's what it's all about, Jeff. And I think it's time that those 77 million people that voted for Donald J. Trump stand behind him 100%. And maybe it's time for the president to say to the National Guard, get rid of those rubber bullets, lock and load those live rounds. And if you are threatened in any manner, you take appropriate action, which would include deadly force. That's what I see it, because this will be the downfall of America if this is allowed to continue throughout the major cities of our countries, to which these democratic communists are not only ruining this country, they're allowing foreign nationals to come in here to commit terrorism against our own people.
Well, you nailed it, as usual. You absolutely nailed it, CJ. Look, this is a border invasion. This is a migrant insurrection and a migrant occupation now of downtown Los Angeles. That's what's happening in front of our eyes. And you're right. It's in other cities all over. And this is well-financed, well-funded, well-organized. And here, look, a lot of these people that are in L.A. right now battling the police, setting everything on fire, responded to ads on Craigslist. They're paying up to $12,500 per person for an entire week, plus all expenses paid. That's a lot of money. Who the hell you know what 12 grand a week is? And that's all coming from this guy, Neville Singham. The radical left is making its move. WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, the voice of the conservative resistance, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, last night, it was a horrible night in Los Angeles again, fourth night of riots and out-of-control protests. Apparently now, a lot of police officers were injured. There were fireworks. All kinds of projectiles were thrown at the police. Streets were blocked off. Protesters, again, took over large parts of downtown Los Angeles. In fact, the police now say there are more of them than there were on Sunday. There were more on Sunday than there were on Saturday. And there were more on Saturday than there were on Friday. So every single day and night, their numbers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In response, President Trump has now ordered the National Guard, over 2,000 troops, and he's now going to deploy over 700 active duty Marines to try to quell the unrest, protect federal officials, law enforcement, and federal buildings, which are increasingly now under siege. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. What the mayor of LA is doing, and she's a commie. She was a huge supporter of Fidel Castro. This is a woman who's an admirer of Che Guevara, another one who admires communist China, very close with that billionaire socialist Maoist, Neville Singham, who's funding many of these riots and rioters. She is very upset with the Los Angeles Police Department Chief, Jim McDonnell. Why? Because Jim McDonnell on Sunday said this when asked by the media, are you overwhelmed? Or can you guys handle all of these rioters and the violence that is now erupting? Listen to what LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell said. Roll cut 11, Mike.
We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted, breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers. And again, as I mentioned in my statement, I can't thank our folks enough and our partner agency police officials for going out there and taking care of the community and trying to be able to put themselves between the threat and the overall community. And they do this night in and night out. And in these past couple of nights, we've seen it at a level that I think disgusts every good person.
All right, so that was then, this is now. That was Sunday. Yesterday, they rolled out Jim McDonnell in front of the local media, and standing right, 6 inches away from him, to his right, was Karen Bass, the commie. And she was not happy. She had this stern look on her face. The party. You have to toe the party line. The party's not happy. Party, no. You're not overwhelmed, Jimmy. You have all the help you need here. No need for feds. No need for National Guard. No need for Marines. Okay? So, it was disgusting. He looked like a hostage. And he had a sheet of paper, literally a sheet of paper. And he's reading it line by line by line by line as she's standing right next to him like a hostage taker. And he's kind of reading into the cameras, we don't need the feds, we don't need the National Guard, we don't need the Marines, we can do this on our own, we have enough law enforcement personnel and resources to take care of this on our own. Well, just less than 24 hours before, you were saying, quote, we're vulnerable, we're being overrun, and we're overwhelmed. So what is it? Were you overwhelmed or were you not overwhelmed? Well, obviously now they told them you got to toe the line. You're embarrassing Newsom, you're embarrassing me, and you're embarrassing the Democratic Grand Poobahs. The bosses aren't happy. The Politburo is not happy. It's pathetic. I'm telling you, that police chief is a joke, that mayor is a joke, and that governor is a joke. 617-266 6868. Agree, disagree. Dave in Boston. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
My pleasure, Dave.
Just want to say I'm disappointed in Trump. Clinton and Obama have deported more than Trump has so far, and they're going to stop calling it a civil war. Civil war is between U.S. citizens. This is between foreigners and American citizens, and, you know, we can't have this keep happening. They imported 2/3 of what our military is right now. And I just want to tell all the listeners, there's a website called No Kings. At the bottom of the page, you can enter your zip code. For this Saturday, they're going to be blocking bridges, blocking roads. Do not counter protests. It's a trap. And this website's funded by no other than Miss Walton herself from Walmart, who is now dropping off masks in Los Angeles. So I just want to tell the listeners, look on this map. It's right on the bottom of the front page. You can enter your zip code, and it's going to show you where they're going to be blocking off bridges this Saturday. Stay away, avoid it, and just get ready. I got to get back to work. You have a good day, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. Look, this is the word out on social media. Laura Loomer is among many who's sounding the alarm, but it's not just her, it's many, that the 14th, this Saturday, that they are now planning these huge riots in 14 cities. They want to block bridges. They want to block highways. They want to block roads. They want to paralyze cities. Boston is one of them on that target list. And Lonnie Brennan from the Boston Broadside blasted out a tweet, I believe. It was an email. It was an email. Forgive me. A mass email. And I want to thank him, saying, don't take the bait. Exactly what Dave is just saying. There are some Trump supporters who say they want to confront them. Please don't do that. That's what they want. They want violence. They want to manufacture an incident. They want one of ours to hurt one of theirs. And then the media will portray it as somehow, you know, a white nationalism run amok or white supremacy or, in other words, they're trying to force us to overplay our hand, to get our emotions up and react with violence so they can blame us. So just be prepared, know where they're going to be on Saturday, and avoid them like the plague. Avoid them like the plague and demand that law enforcement do its job, which is arrest every single one of them. Every single one of them. It's illegal to block a bridge. It's illegal to block a highway. It's illegal to block roads. It's illegal to obstruct ICE and federal law enforcement in the midst of them conducting arrests or a raid. And if they're not going to do their jobs, then it's time for Trump to defund all of these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and call up the National Guard. In other words, use the model now in California. And look, I said this earlier, and I want to say it again, and I want to get your reaction. I hope now that President Trump tells the governor of California, not only is the National Guard going to stay and the Marines until this civil unrest, this insurrection is quelled, but even after it's quelled, they are going to stay until every illegal alien is deported from Los Angeles and from California. In other words, it's time for him to use the military to repel and defeat this invasion. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Let me ask all of you, Trump is now deploying the military. Like, no like, agree, disagree, all of your calls. Next. 617-266-6868. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and as always, welcome. Oh, Bruce, the Moonbats are out in full force in L.A., my friend. It's right now, it's Moonbat Central.
Yeah, Jeff. My explanation to all of this is send a SEAL team in, with police, arrest the Newsom, him and that piece of Bass, arrest them for inciting a riot. And this is not supposed to be happening because he's already messed up that state with the fires and fire hydrants and what's going to happen when they stop burning things down again? It's just you can't throw stuff off a bridge at police cars. For one, it's a felony. Missiling anything at a moving vehicle, that's a crime, and he's inciting this. He needs to go. He needs to go now.
No, Bruce, you're dead on. And look, just to add to what you're saying, because you're completely right. Look, imagine just, not that we would ever do this, but just if, for listeners out there, imagine Bruce, me, and a couple of others, and we rent a truck. And we park it, say, near an overpass, and it's full of these cinder blocks, these massive cement blocks. And 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 of us. And we just start grabbing these blocks and look at that car, and we just throw these blocks down. And they're smashing cars, smashing windshields. But we're not just touching pedestrians. We're actually going, no, let's go after the cops. Or in this case, every border patrol vehicle, every ICE vehicle, every police car, you name it, California Highway Patrol, LAPD, the sheriff's office, it doesn't matter. Oh, look at this. Throw it. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's smashed. Oh, right in the head. Oh, look at that. Now, if we did this, how fast would you and I be arrested? There'd be no question. You would be arrested, and rightly so. I would be arrested, rightly so. And what would make it even worse is you can't even argue, because Sandy and I were talking about this. And look, I'm not, my position on this. I think these people are vile. I think they're scum. I think they all need to be arrested. And those that are the illegal aliens should be deported. So these are rioters and insurrectionists. Okay. They're criminals. But, there's been books and articles written about crowd madness. And so Sandy and I were just talking about this after the show yesterday. There is a kind of psychosis when you're in a crowd, and maybe you start off just protesting, but you kind of get whipped up and caught up in the frenzy of the crowd, the emotion of the crowd, the energy of the crowd. And it almost like takes hold of you. I'm not excusing them. I'm just saying people have explained the phenomenon. So, but we're not talking about, crowd madness, spontaneous, hey, I don't know what the hell was wrong with me. I was protesting, and before you know it, I'm throwing rocks. Okay? We're not talking about a spontaneous explosion of anger or eruption of violence. No. They hired the truck. The truck is expensive. They bought the cinder blocks. They loaded them up. They placed them strategically in key areas around the city, downtown core. By the way, they're doing this now in other cities. They're finding these cinder blocks and trucks now in other cities. So they're getting ready for, I guess, June 14th on Saturday. So this was premeditated. This was planned. This was organized. We are going to burn LA to the ground. We are going to target ICE when they come in. And we're going to use these cement blocks as weapons to destroy cars and target police officers. As I said on X last night, that's attempted murder. When you start throwing massive cinder blocks onto cars, police cars in particular, that's attempted murder. That thing smashes a windshield and hits the driver or the passenger or whoever. That smashes your skull. You're dead. These people are crazy. I don't know if you saw what happened last night. It wasn't cinder blocks. They're using these explosives and fireworks, and so it's lighting. Still, cars are on fire. But some police officers, you see them like they're in flames. They throw the fireworks on them. It catches their pants or whatever, and they're lit on fire. And the cops have to douse the flames. Like, these people are crazy. But it's orchestrated, it's planned, it's organized, it's coordinated, it's well-funded, very well-funded, and it's not just that it's these communist billionaires, like this guy Neville Singham, as I pointed out, our own taxpayer money. Just to Churla alone, that group, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, again, far-left, Marxist, open borders, anti-American group. Okay, it's a communist front group. That's what it really is. $34 million in taxpayer funding. We're paying for the insurrection. Us, the taxpayers, we're funding that insurrection in Los Angeles. You can't make this up. So yeah, Bruce, you're completely right. Newsom knows about it, did nothing, in fact, encouraged it. Karen Bass encouraged it. And then what I find really disgusting, your city is being burned to the ground. Your police officers are being pelted, literally pelted, with rocks, chunks of concrete, glass bottles, urine, fireworks. They are burning car after car, businesses being looted, federal buildings under siege and being stormed. And you run to MSNBC and notice hair always slicked back, always with nice clothes, always his face, always, looking his absolute best, always with a facial, the manicure, always, you can tell this guy, he's acting. He wants his own reality TV show. He thinks he's sexy with his sunglasses. And then you do the whole tough guy routine. Here, listen to this. To me, this is his city is literally burning. And this is what the governor of California is doing. He's playing tough guy. Listen to this. Roll cut 8A. He's talking about Tom Homan, the border czar. Roll cut 8A. Mike.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his work. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Let your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn.
Now, he's saying this, you phony, you fraud, you, because he knows Homan's not going to arrest him. He knows it. He knows it. So, come and get me. Come and get me. Now, notice, he cries for the illegals. Again, the kids, the children. Who's going after 4-year-old girls? Later in the show, I'm going to give you a list of the people that they were going after, who they were arresting at that Home Depot, at that other location. Okay? Here. A mass murderer. He was involved in a mass shooting that killed 2 teenagers at a graduation party. An illegal from Vietnam. A convicted pedophile, another one. A convicted child molester, another one. A gangbanger who beats his wife and has been arrested for multiple DUIs, another one. I could go on and on. Those are the people they're arresting. Those are the people they wanted to nab before these idiots erupted in these violent riots and protests. No one's arresting a 4-year-old girl. And by the way, the illegals don't pay their taxes. Everything is off the table. I don't know what this guy's talking about. But notice, he defends them. But he never defends the victims. He never defends fellow Americans. No. because those are his people. Those are his voters. So President Trump was asked, this was him after he got off Air Force One, and he was asked by Marine One, my bad. He was off Marine One. Peter Doocy of Fox News said, look, he keeps taunting, goading, daring Holman and you to come and arrest him. Should Holman do it? Listen to Trump's response. Roll cut 4, Mike.
He's daring Tom Holman to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I was Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it's a great thing.
He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
So he's being a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But he's like, well, look, if Holman wants to arrest him, I think that would be great. He goes, but, Newsom likes the publicity. And then he went on about that, that train that they have, that high-speed rail train, which is, it's decades overdue. It's billions of dollars over budget. It's an absolute fiasco. Okay? A massive boondoggle. But let that go. He knows what's going on. Newsom wants to play the martyr. And by playing the martyr, he thinks this is going to propel him to the Democratic nomination in 2028. So he's playing politics. Selfish, narcissistic, self-absorbed that he is. He's just thinking about his own political future. The fact that his city, that his state is going up in smoke, he couldn't care less. He doesn't care. Listen now to Trump. When asked, what are your intelligence people? What's your attorney general? What are your law enforcement people telling you? Who are these people that are rioting, rampaging, burning, and looting? Listen to Trump's response. Roll cut 4A, Mike.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ISIS trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
He's right. And look, let me ask all of you. Look how many of them have masks. Almost all of them have masks. They're hiding behind the masks. They think it protects them. It gives them anonymity. I think it's time to rip off those masks. If you're fighting fascism, you're fighting Hitler, you're fighting a dictatorship, as you guys claim, and, this is a Mexican stolen land, Viva Mexico! Then you should have the honor and the decency and the courage to expose who you are. What are you ashamed of? What are you afraid of? And I hope what they do now when they bring in the National Guard is say, you know what? Fine. You have a mask, you're going to get arrested. Period. We will not tolerate these masks anymore at these so-called protests. Because a mask means you're looking to cause trouble. If you're a peaceful protester, you don't need a mask. So the fact that you're wearing a mask means you are looking to create an act of terror or an act of violence or an act of vandalism. So arrest them on the spot. It's time to pass a law outlawing and banning these masks. I'm sick of this. This is getting ridiculous. That's a reason why it's hard to arrest these people. Nobody knows who they are because their face is completely covered. Steve in Methuen. Again, agree, disagree. Steve in Methuen. Thanks for holding, Steve, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Very, very good. I'm just happy I'm not in L.A., Steve. That's all I can say.
Exactly. Inciting a riot is a crime. I had a friend of mine get arrested for that, and he was just observing. And then, I'm just curious, why haven't they taken out the leaders like Soros and his son? Why are they still breathing? It just doesn't make sense to me,
Well, Steve, that's the $64,000 question. These organizers, none of them are being arrested. These people, that are funding this, they're the ones that are paying for this. Why aren't they being arrested? This guy, Neville Singham, George Soros, his loser son, Alex. I mean, and they do it again and again. Soros has been doing this for 25, 30 years. Really, I don't know how many riots. Who funded Black Lives Matter? It was all Soros. The burning down of Minneapolis, Soros. Seattle, Soros. Portland, Soros. Kenosha, Soros. I mean, all this guy does is fund Antifa, Black Lives Matter, domestic terrorist hate groups who go out and burn and loot and murder and maim and assault police officers and innocent civilians. So, I mean, I don't know how many freaking crimes this guy has to commit before somebody has the guts to arrest him. Now, Steve, my theory is he's protected by the Democratic Party. He's their sugar daddy. Just like this guy Singham is. So if you're a wealthy billionaire and you line the pockets of Democrats, it's like a racketeering or a protection racket. It's like a mob. So, no. As long as he keeps stuffing money in their wallets, they're not going to let anybody touch Georgie or this guy Singham or his son or any of these other big Dem donors. To me, it's clear. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Final word to you, Steve.
Wondering why there isn't a hit on him.
Well, it may come to that. No, it may come to that. He's messing around in Eastern Europe again. And the Hungarians now want him arrested. Putin wants him arrested. The Poles now, they have a new nationalist, a Trump supporter, who just won the presidential election. He's a great guy. He's a fierce Polish patriot, big Trump supporter. He can't stand George Soros. He's warned Soros, don't mess around in Poland. Because Soros bankrolled his globalist opposition. So I think, Steve, someone's going to take care of him and his business. One of these days, he's going to run into the wrong guy. So maybe one of these Eastern Europeans will take care of him. Steve, thank you very much for that call. But to me, he's clearly a traitor. And you want to talk about an anti-American to the core? It's George Soros. And his son and the whole Open Society Foundation. Joe in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Joe, and welcome.
Yeah, hey, Jeff. I love you, man, but you are way off today. With all these guys calling in for live rounds, trading into rubber bullets, we're going to fall right into their trap. Hey, I was a Marine in Iraq, and these guys did it to us all the time. They'd send out these agitators, would take them out, and then the whole city would erupt again. And we learned that the best way of doing it is just grabbing them, hog-tying them, get them out of there, throw them in some holes, but not lethal force. Don't give them that what they're looking for. The Democrats want to trap them. Look what the Israelis just did with that Greta Thunberg. Totally took away her whole idea of she's going to be a victim. They gave her sandwiches, and then they deported her. We got to do the same thing with these people. Just grab them, get rid of them, but none of this violence on the street.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not saying massacre them or any far from it. No, I mean, I think they're going to be using rubber bullets. I mean, my understanding is the National Guard is using rubber bullets. But I think arrests have to start being made, Joe. That's my point. And outside of a handful of these activists and agitators, there's been very, very few arrests. To me, this is outrageous. Starting, frankly, with the governor. The guy keeps, he's begging to be arrested. Okay, arrest him. I mean, who's aided and abetted this invasion? Him. Who allowed and encouraged these riots? Him. Who was told, and that mayor in LA, Karen Bass. And now it's come out while federal law enforcement and ICE were literally under siege, being attacked, pelted with rocks and bricks and bottles. She told the LAPD, stand down, don't go. They were asking for help and LAPD stayed back. They wouldn't help for 2 hours because her goal is to kick ICE out of L.A. And then when Trump went absolutely Thunderdome, saying, you better send in the police or I'm going to send in the National Guard, then she told the LAPD, okay, go. But by then, they had already breached the first layer of security. They almost took over the entire federal ICE building. And, Joe, all I'm saying is, who's been arrested? Nobody's been arrested. Joe, please, final word to you.
No, I understand what you're saying. We got to arrest them. We've got to deport them. We got to get them out of there. But the optics of putting Marines on the street with weapons or whatever it is, even if it's shields with their masks, is not going to look good. We just got to grab them little by little, like we used to do in Iraq, and then they go away. It's real quick. Almost bulldoze them out of there. That's all. I've heard a lot of callers saying, "Oh, we got to use lethal force." Well, these guys have never been on a two-way rifle range. They don't know what it's like.
Yeah, they don't know what it's like to actually operate in a combat zone. No, I hear you. Joe, excellent point. And again, thank you for your service. And thank you very much for your call. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Joe. 617-266-6868. More with your calls next. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text us at 70470, 70470. This really is a brilliant text right on the heels of Joe's very, very good phone call. And so this is what's from 603 up in New Hampshire. Jeff, the boots on the ground rioters are merely the symptom and not the cause. Yes, they have to be dealt with quickly and swiftly. But if this cancer is to be eradicated from our country, then this administration, the Trump administration, has to aggressively go after and root out the cause of all these riots and violence. And that would be the organizational leadership that is coordinating and funding this. And I mean all of them. It doesn't matter whether it's the politicians who support it, the subversive billionaires like Soros and this guy Singham, or the NGOs who have been given tens of millions in taxpayer dollars to fund this. We must tear them out root and branch. Our federal government knows exactly who these players are, each and every one of them, and they have all the receipts. Trump needs to cut off the head of the snake first. Without organization, coordination, and funding, this threat will wither and die on the vine. Take out the heads first, and then pick up the loose pieces afterwards. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And he's completely right. That's the problem. We're just playing whack-a-mole now. Oh, they show up here in this part of downtown LA. Okay, send the cops there. Oh, now they're in Paramount. Okay, send them there. Oh, now they're in Compton. Okay, send them there. Oh, now they're back at the ICE detention facility building. Okay, send the police there. I agree with 603. You take it right to them. Take it right to Newsom. Take it right to Karen Bass. Take it right to Churla. Take it right to the Socialism and Liberation Party. Take it right to Singham. Take it right to George Soros. Go after them all. Every single one of them. And then you'll see, without the money, without the funding, without the direction, the organization, the leadership, hey, a lot of these people that are burning cars are being paid $12,000 a week to burn those cars. To me, I'm looking at this. I'm looking around the room as I'm reading these stories. Am I living in the Twilight Zone? They're putting up ads on Craigslist. You know, I need a painter. Can you cut grass? I don't know. Can you? I don't know. I need a bathroom remodel. Instead, literally on Craigslist, $12,500 a week plus all expenses. Are you a, quote, this is what it says, quote, and forgive me, a tough badass, quote unquote. If you're a tough badass, we need protesters in Los Angeles against ICE. Here's where you apply. And if you're a really good, quote unquote, badass, if I guess you're willing to, I don't know, wave a Mexican flag and do donuts and stand atop a burning car, you're $1,200 a week. If you're just going to wear a mask and hide in the crowd a bit and maybe throw rocks at police cars, that's $6,500. Like, really, it's $6,500 to $12,500 a week. Nothing less than $6,500. So that's why Trump said these are paid agitators. Not all, but many of them are paid agitators. And of course, they're insurrectionists. Well, go after the money. And seriously, what kind of a sicko? I'm going to pay you phenomenal money to burn a city to the ground, an American city. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Phil in Tewksbury. Thanks for holding, Phil, and welcome.
Jeff, I want to congratulate you on achieving a new low in radio history, talk radio history, openly calling and supporting for the hit on George Soros. How do you defend that, my friend?
I never called for a hit on George Soros. What are you talking about?
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to argue with you. Why don't you play back the conversation?
No, I know exactly what I said. What I'm telling you is there's a warrant out for his arrest in Hungary. There's another warrant out for his arrest in Poland. This guy, there's a warrant out for his arrest in Russia. And I'm telling you, they're either going to arrest him or something's going to happen to this guy because you keep fomenting revolution and riots in countries all over the world. Like, who's calling for a hit? Please, look, if you want to attack me on the merits, attack me on the merits. But don't lie. Don't put words in my mouth. I have the tape. So George Soros is a despicable human being who supports insurrectionists and traitors and terrorists all over the world. And he's been doing it here in the United States. Why can't this man be arrested? Why is he above the law? Can you explain that to me, Phil?
Jeff, I was so shocked by it, I pulled over to the side of the road and I wrote it down. Here's what the guy said. Why hasn't someone taken out a hit on him? Your response, it may come to that.
Yes. I'm not calling for the hit, you moron. I'm saying, look, I'm telling you right now, the Hungarians, yes, it may come to that. Putin doesn't kill people? What, you think Orban doesn't play rough in Hungary? Well, what's wrong with you, man? Like what? So this guy can go around and destroy countries all over the world and think something may not physically happen to him? Of course it may. I'm calling for him to be arrested. I'm not calling for him to be assassinated. What are you, on drugs? Like what, you don't understand English? Okay, let me ask you, is Trump right to send in the Marines and the National Guard into Los Angeles? I say yes. What say you? And many of you who are texting the Kuhner man saying, you've got to cut off the head of the snake. The organizers, the funders, the donors, the people who are paying for all of these agitators and rioters and so-called protesters, that they need to be arrested and locked up, starting with archenemy number one, George Soros, as he's pronounced in Hungarian, George Soros, his son Alex, and of course this Maoist billionaire, who I think is one of the most despicable human beings on the planet, Neville Singham, who is bankrolling a lot of the groups, the communist groups that are now running wild in Los Angeles. 617-266-6868. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Call, Jeff. I'm going to tell you right now, what we're witnessing here, and I want everybody to listen, it's a terrorist coup. And I'm telling you, our country should be embarrassed, especially the previous administration and all the Democrats, all the liberals that turned their back
when all these people were walking through the country over the Rio Grande, and everybody said, oh, it's fine. It's in control. Nobody's getting through. Well, you know something? They're illegal invaders that can be turned on into internal terrorists, exactly what they are. And you tell me that the governor and the mayor of California, who wanted to have a skeleton crew police department to try to hold back thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal invaders and terrorists and anarchists and everything else that's been said about these people, if you had a skeleton crew, you know what would have happened? L.A. would have burnt down. All these liberals who have businesses would have been pilfered and pillaged like they were, except it would have been worse. The federal buildings would have been occupied, and then Gavin Newsom would have stood there with his butt in his hand saying, oh, I didn't realize that it was going to get this far out of hand. Well, because he's a fool. He's an anarchist himself. And, you know, as far as all of these rocks and cinder blocks and all of these things that have been very well organized, you know what happens when the rocks run out? Then they start using the hammers. And those hammers, there's got to be an awful lot of them to make those rocks. And those hammers are going to be used on people. And you can ask Nancy Pelosi's husband how a hammer feels to the head. And let me tell you, he got lucky. But a lot of them won't be lucky. They'll be dead. I'm telling you right now, this is a coup. It's a coup against our country. The leadership in this country's got to call it what it is. Internal terrorism. The dragon must have its head cut off. All of these sponsors have got to go. They've got to be tossed out of the country. All these politicians and people in the media who are standing up, oh, it's mostly peaceful. Well, why don't you go down there at night and get into the crowd and see how peaceful it is? You might get your head bashed in. And I'm telling you right now, the American people and the people of all of these cities are law-abiding people, and watching law being broken and chaos being had and basically a coup going on right in front of their faces. And then our leadership, like lunatic governor, is saying, oh, it's mostly peaceful. Oh, geez, you know, trying to play it all down. You know, it makes me sick to my stomach that we're even behind this. It's possible our money is paying for this. I'm telling you, Jeff, this is chaos. This is a coup, and it's got to be deemed as that. They've got to be called terrorists. And there was a person that was on before me that said these people need to be rounded up, and you better believe they need to be rounded up, and they better get a 5-year term in jail, and they all better know that if you want to basically cause chaos and a coup in this country, that you're going to jail. And as far as this devil Slingham, he should go to jail. He should get his a-hole tossed into jail or out of this country. So much with George Soros, too. I'm sick of it. We've had enough of it. And what do they want to do? Ignite the whole country? Yes, they do, because they want a civil war. And we're not going to give it to them. We're going to stand peaceful. We're going to watch all of this. We're going to let our leadership, the good leadership, come into power here and control the situation and put these people away that they should be.
Well, Dan, just and you're on fire, by the way. Just to piggyback off of what you're saying, this key socialist, again, this is what he calls himself, this socialist billionaire with quote unquote Maoist leanings. Okay, that's this Neville Singham. He's not just an avowed communist and an open admirer of China. You have to read what he says. He's funding all these groups. The Party of Socialism and Liberation, CHIRLA, this coalition of humane immigrant rights, group after group, Antifa. He's a big financial backer of Antifa. He's the one that's offering the $12,000 a week if you want to go down there and, start, blowing things up in LA or burning cars. He literally is saying we need a communist revolution in the United States in which the white American, the land and the property of the white American must be stolen and dispossessed from him by illegal aliens and other minorities. I mean, he's openly calling for not just a class revolution, a Marxist revolution, but a racial revolution. And eventually he wants China to occupy the United States. He's made his billions pushing Chinese propaganda and communist China all across the world. He's a front man for Beijing. I mean, and he brags about it. This is not like, oh, come on, Jeff, where'd you get this information? No, he says China is the future of the world. Mao is the greatest leader of the 20th century. And he thinks Xi Jinping is walking in the footsteps of Mao. And so he's now become a billionaire peddling Chinese lies, misinformation, propaganda, and Chinese influence. He's the guy that's along with Soros. Soros is always bankrolling stuff like this, but he's the guy with the big checks right now. He's the one with the ads on Craigslist. So you're right. Everything what you're saying is right. This is a coup. This is an attempted takeover of the country. This is a communist revolution that we're seeing in front of our eyes. And they're using these illegal aliens, and let's be specific, young military-aged men who they allow to pour into our country as their shock troops. And notice now, you go down to downtown L.A., they're burning the American flag everywhere you go. They're not just flying the Mexican flag. The Mexican flag it's a sea of Mexican flags. They're flying the flags of Palestine and Hamas. You're starting to see now China flags. You're seeing the hammer and sickle. Signs everywhere. This is stolen land. Many of these protesters don't even speak a word of English. It's all en español because they're illegals and they've never assimilated and they don't want to assimilate. So what I'm saying is this is a full-blown insurrection. And what? We're just supposed to sit back and take it? Really, think about it. We're supposed to sit back and go to Gavin Newsom, bravo. Or Karen Bass, bravo. The same woman, by the way, who defunded the Los Angeles Police Department. There's not enough cops. And by the way, many of the criminals now rampaging, check it out. Look, don't take my word for it. The Los Angeles Times has reported this. Newsom, early release of many of these dangerous, violent criminals. He has released them into the general population. Many of them illegal aliens, convicted of heinous crimes. They're on the streets because of Newsom. And so, ICE has come out home and said again, if you had left them in a detention center or in jail or prison, we would have gone in and picked them up and arrested them and deported them. But you release them back onto the streets and into the community. So now we have to go into the community to get them. If you don't want all this fear and chaos and terror in the community. Okay, many of you, and just very quick, because I want to go to the phone lines, are saying, Kuhner, man, can you give us a little more information on some of the key donors, funders of what's happening right now? And by the way, I think Michael on Messenger made a brilliant point. Jeff, this is not an insurrection. This is an invasion. But these illegals poured in, and now they're lashing out. This is an invasion. In many ways, what you're seeing is an invasion. If it's even worse than an insurrection. And I think Michael is onto something. I think he's really got a good point. But look, the funders, the donors, the bankrollers of all this, very important. George Soros, Alex Soros, the Open Society Foundation, key, absolutely key. They're pouring millions into this. Now, remember, Soros is wanted in Russia. He's wanted in Belarus, which is also, it's run by this guy called Lukashenko, who is you want to talk about a thug and a strongman. I mean, he wipes out his political opponents. He's wanted in Hungary. He's wanted now apparently in Poland. He's wanted in many countries around the world because he keeps meddling in every country's internal affairs. So as I said earlier, he's playing with fire. You know, to me, you should arrest him because he's done tremendous damage to the United States, and he's been doing it for over 30 years. Okay, the man is swine. But I'm telling you, this guy he's dangerous, he's destabilizing, and he's another one who's peddling open borders, globalism, and socialism. He's talked about this repeatedly. He wants a socialist revolution in the United States. And if you want to know why you have all these criminals running wild, it's Soros who funded all of these soft-on-crime district attorneys and their election campaigns in almost every major city in the United States. So these are his people on the streets. But it's not just Soros. Anna Paulina Luna, very good congresswoman from Florida, is also now pointing out the role of Neville Singham, Singham. He's a Maoist billionaire, as I said, with very close ties to communist China. He's another one underwriting a lot of these riots now and activists that are rampaging in Los Angeles. Another one is Christy Walton. She is the billionaire heiress of Walmart. And apparently she is funding not just what's happening in Los Angeles, she's kicking in some big checks, but she's also funding what's called the No Kings protests that are scheduled to erupt on Saturday, June 14th, all across America against Donald Trump. 14 cities in particular. Boston is one of them, but it's going to be LA, it's going to be Chicago, it's going to be New York City, it's going to be the biggest cities in the country. And their goal is to shut down highways, blockade bridges, blockade roads. They want to clash with police in downtown areas, start violent protests if need be. So we're looking now at globalist billionaires who are now mobilizing their socialist shock troops and activists, and some of them are paid, no question, to foment a revolution, disorder, chaos here in the United States, to bring down the Trump presidency and to stop ICE from deporting all of these illegal aliens. In other words, it's a coup. They are refusing to allow Trump to fulfill his central campaign promise to seal the border and start deporting millions and millions of illegal aliens. 617-266-6868. Rich in Natick. Thanks for holding, Rich, and welcome.
Jeff.
Hi, Rich.
These people were just on the way down to the border to help rebuild the border wall. That's what they had the blocks and the bricks for. But then they got turned away because of the no more DEI. So they just didn't want the stuff to go to waste. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, Jeff, this is what the Dems do. They're going to create the problem and try to swoop in like they have the solution. They're masters at manipulating people, and they're bad news. And this is a terrorist organization. It's funded, it's organized, and it's being carried out right before our eyes. I don't like that they're so soft on the wording, using like insurrection and riot. It's a domestic terrorist activity. You know, and all these people that should be rounding up and the people that are funding them. Gavin Newsom, you think he cares about these people? This is clickbait for his 2028 presidential run. This guy's a clown. He's got no chance. Hakeem Jeffries, speaking of clowns, telling ICE agents to remove their masks. But I don't hear him telling the protesters to remove their masks. I mean, the terrorists. Just hypocrites, morons, and clowns. That's all they are. That's why they lost.
Rich, if you don't mind, I want to read something to you because it goes to what you're saying, what many of you are saying on the text line, and what many in the audience are thinking, and I'm with you all the way. This is from Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. She's no bomb thrower. She's one of the brightest young rising stars in the Republican Party. And there's a picture of Singham along with her tweet on X. Neville Singham, or Singham, however you pronounce his last name, Neville Singham is the man funding these riots in L.A. It's not about illegal Hispanics. They're just using them for propaganda. They are actual communists. Now, we know that Singham is one of the big funders. We know that. We know he's paying the agitators. We know he's paying for the cement blocks. He's paying for the posters. He's paying for the literature. He's paying for all of this. Why hasn't he been arrested? To your point. You know, if I pay you, Rich, to commit a murder, not that you would ever do it, but just, follow the analogy. Or if you paid me to commit a murder, well, yeah, you arrest me, but you also arrest you, right? You don't just arrest the person who's committing the crime. You're arresting the person who's paying the person to commit the crime. Well, they're clearly paying these agitators, these terrorists, as you call them, and you're right, okay, these rioters and insurrectionists to burn, to loot, to riot, to destroy, to assault police, and to foment a revolution in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. So how come this guy doesn't have handcuffs slapped on him? And he's an agent and an advocate for our mortal enemy, Communist China, to boot. So he's not just, fomenting domestic revolution. He's a national security threat to the United States. Rich, am I missing something here?
No, you're spot on, Jeff. And, the Democrats, they're still playing the same game, and they haven't figured it out that it doesn't work anymore. We're on to them. It ain't going to work. And hopefully in the midterms, we slaughter them.
Well, I agree with you, and that's why I'm urging everybody, please, no violence. Don't respond on Saturday, June 14th. Stay away. Don't engage. Don't confront them. When they blockade the highways, when they blockade the bridges, the roads, when they try to provoke police in downtown areas, stay away, avoid them. And if they create chaos and havoc, call in the National Guard. Have Trump federalize the National Guard and just call it in to city after city after city. That's how you get around all these sanctuary cities now. So let them do it, and then we react by sending in the troops, sending in the Marines, and sending in the National Guard. Rich, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Just my 2 cents worth. Agree, disagree. Arthur in Chestnut Hill. Thanks for holding, Arthur, and welcome.
Well, by the way, with George Soros, I think you can add Nazi war collaborator.
That's right.
After
That's
how
right.
he robbed the Jews. I'm surprised the Mossad hasn't taken him out all this time. Anyway, besides that, what's going on, and only a blind person can see that the police have orders to stand down. They are doing absolutely nothing but standing around. They're attacked. They don't respond except here and there. And to me, if we want to be serious about all of this, Jeff, Trump needs to declare martial law because the governor and the mayor are doing nothing to stop this. And this is attacking against America and our way of life. It's obvious by the fact that the American flag is being burned over and over again. The Mexican flags are being waved. Our way of life in our country is being attacked by these invaders, and he needs to declare martial law and federalize the state police. They need to shut down downtown L.A., have roadblocks, and shut down the highways in and out. While they're rioting on a few streets, they show them looting the expensive stores. So that's a big part of it too. I mean, this is disgusting to watch. But it needs to declare martial law, and you need to use overwhelming force. None of this. We get National Guard and a few Marines. That's not going to do it. You need more than 700 Marines. You need enough to overwhelm these people because they're way outnumbered. And American citizens, if we keep the way things were going, we're going to be outnumbered by all these illegals. I mean, nothing's happening. If he doesn't take control of this by the weekend, you're going to find these insurrections in Chicago, and I don't mean just these little small protests by these other sympathizers and contributors. It's going to be from one city to the other. Chicago's perfect because the kind of mayor that they have there. But he's got to declare martial law because nobody's doing anything about it. And he's got to be serious about it. And he's got to rein in, he's got to bring in many, many troops and keep the people out. I mean, you've got to turn around and you've got to plan ahead. And if we know about all these people, how long? We've known about Antifa for God knows how long, and they were prominent on January 6th. And I don't see one FBI report. Has anybody infiltrated them? I mean, they just turn around and let them keep on and on and on and on, and we do nothing. What have we become in this country? We tolerate everything. We tolerate this so-called media. We tolerate these mayors and we tolerate all these people who support this and fund these things. What's the matter with us?
Arthur, Arthur. I promise I'll let you finish. But just to add to your point, it literally just broke. It broke like maybe 15 seconds ago. President Trump now has authorized another 2,000 National Guard troops to be sent to Los Angeles as the protests there are escalating. So he's going to send over 4,000, almost 4,200, almost 3,000 National Guard troops in total, with over 700 Marines. So it's going to be 5,000 U.S. troops in total. I'm just curious, Arthur, is 5,000 enough? So in other words, you called for more troops, almost like right on cue, 2,000 more National Guard troops are going to be sent. Is that enough, Arthur?
It's not enough. Okay, and one of the best sayings that was ever said was "nip it in the bud." We haven't done that. We didn't do it since the 20s, since back with the 2020 riots. We're back there again. You've got to turn around and you've got to shut the city down, keep these people out, okay, and then go after them. You could go after them now, but there's not enough people there to get them. Where are they going to put them? Okay, there's a lot that has to go into this. That's why he has to declare martial law, and he needs a lot of troops, a lot of help. You need to. I wonder by doing that if he can federalize the state police, the California Highway Patrol. They're pretty good if they're still allowed to do their job. Shut down the highways, roadblocks. When they see these buses coming in, grab the buses and find out who's on there. I mean, there's so much that could be done if we had leadership, strong leadership, because this is why things have gotten out of hand the way they are today, because we haven't taken them by the hand. And this nation is in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble.
It's now or never. I agree, Arthur. He can't. He could lose the country. I mean, really, this thing could unravel fast. This could spread to other cities. Like you're right, and you could be talking about explosions in city after city after city. And I think Trump senses that, and that's why he's going in with more troops. So anyway, Arthur, fingers crossed. As always, thank you very much for that call. Okay, more breaking news. So again, we talked about the funders, the people who are, sending in the money and the supplies. Well, listen now to this. They are now sending in. These are, I don't know who's funding this, but I don't know if it's Singham. I don't know if it's Christy Walton or Soros, but the money that's pouring in, the millions behind these insurrectionists and terrorists and rioters, they're now bringing in truckload after truckload after truckload of these bionic face masks. So these are these kind of face masks that give you extra protection against, say, tear gas or rubber bullets in the face or something like that. These are expensive. These bionic masks are not cheap. And you can see them, pickup truck after pickup truck after pickup truck. They're right there, downtown LA, and they're in boxes, and you've got activists just handing them out to people. And they're just pumping their fists like a salute, like a power salute. And you can tell now they're getting ready. There's going to be a big night of rioting tonight. There's going to be some real clashes with the police and the National Guard. So just to let you know, the rioters and the insurrectionists are pouring in reinforcements. More cinder blocks are coming in. More bionic shields are coming in. And they say they're going to bring in tens and tens of thousands of more protesters from around California and from around the country. 617-266-6868. Sean in the great state of Iowa. Thanks for holding, Sean, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, man, you've had some great calls here. Hard to follow up on, but the whole problem is, I think it was Arthur said, nip it in the bud, or maybe you did. Here's the problem. We didn't do that. The problem here is okay, these guys committed a federal offense by crossing our federal border. So that makes it a federal problem. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a lawyer. Maybe you know more than me about this. So I'm asking you, if they committed a federal problem, how is it that we have sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, and the federal government hasn't come in and taken over and gotten these people out? And when they did make a sanctuary state, the governor should be arrested. This wouldn't be a problem. But now we've got this big problem. Now we've got a riot down here because I'm sure we all know what's going on there. Drop them. Drop them. As soon as they throw a rock or anything deadly at a cop, you drop them. They'll stop or they'll go crazy, and let them go crazy. We, the people, should have taken care of this a long time ago. When the government did not want to do it, we should have done it. I'm keeping this PG. This pisses me off so bad, dude. And I'm a truck driver. I'm going to tell you right now, if they get in front of my truck, you've heard the saying, what is that? Oh, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Yeah. Get in front of my truck and block the highway and see if I don't run you down. I am so sick of these people. I'm sick of the injustice. We have no justice in this.
Well, look, Sean, just to answer you're asking a $64,000 question. I've been saying this now for over a decade. Sanctuary cities are illegal. Sanctuary states are illegal. Literally, Sean, it would be something like this. I'm not paying my taxes. Why? I'm a sanctuary household. What? No, I don't recognize. Really, what if I said to you, I don't recognize the federal tax laws of this country. I think the taxes are unfair. I think they're unjust. I think they're oppressive. You know what? My home, my property where I live is a, quote, sanctuary jurisdiction. It's a sanctuary household. People say, but that doesn't exist. There's no such thing. You can't just pick and choose what laws you want to follow. Well, there's no such thing as a sanctuary city. In law, it doesn't exist. It's completely invented. It's a fiction. And there's no such thing as a sanctuary state. But you see, we allowed the fiction to go on and fester and fester. And they brought in more illegals and more illegals. And look, ultimately, Sean, this goes all the way back to Joe Biden. He allowed so many of these criminal illegals to pour in. And now they're like an army. They're like an army. And now Trump realizes, they aren't going to let ICE go in and arrest these criminal illegal aliens. They're just not. And they're coordinating with the Democratic Party, and they're coordinating with these socialist communist front groups. And now we find out they're coordinating with some of the wealthiest globalist billionaires in the world. One of whom, I'm telling you, is in bed with Beijing. It's an open secret. So, yeah, Sean, sanctuary cities don't exist. Sanctuary states don't exist. That's why I've been urging for years, arrest them. They're breaking the law. Arrest Newsom, arrest Karen Bass, arrest any mayor or governor of any sanctuary city or sanctuary state. You know, if you didn't pay your taxes, Sean, and declared your home a sanctuary home, they'd arrest you. They wouldn't care. So they say you're not above the law. Well, why are they above the law? Okay. Lines are jammed. I want to go right to the phone lines, but I want to throw this log on the fire and get your take, all of you out there in Kuhner country. And that is this bizarre reaction. And frankly, Sandy and I were talking about this in the pre-show production meeting. In the media, among Democrats, among many leftists, progressives, liberals, you name it, that it's no big deal. That really what's happening in LA is like, what is everybody getting all hot and bothered about? Like, okay, so cars are being torched. Okay. So police officers are being pelted with rocks and bricks and concrete and bottles and businesses are being looted and fireworks are being thrown and neighborhoods are being burned and federal buildings are being stormed. Like, what's the big deal? I want you to listen now. This is a reporter for ABC 7 LA, so an ABC local affiliate in Los Angeles. Now, she's not talking to a friend on a hot mic. She's literally live on air. And listen to what she says. Oh, it's a he. Forgive me. My bad. It's a he. Yeah, no, it could be, hey, who knows how they identify? I hear you, Mike. But no, so it's a he. My bad. But, so this person says, people are just having fun. They're watching cars burn. Why do the police have to, I'm not kidding. Why do the police even have to get involved? There's no riot. It's a party. This is a reporter, ABC News, local affiliate, live on the air. Roll cut 16. Mike.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
Watching cars burn and having fun? What? And, as Sandy said to me, and I thought she had was on fire this morning. She said, like, what's next? So, like in Boulder, Colorado, if you just burn some Jews? If we burn Jewish Americans or Americans say we just light them on fire? Oh, hey, oh, look at that. Whoa, they really do get crisp, huh? Like what? It's funny. We just watch things go up in smoke and things get burned and it's just fun. And like, why do you have to send in the National Guard? Why do you have to send in the police? Why do you have to send in the Marines? It's just one big party. So what if cars get torched? So what if police get pelted with rocks and bricks? So what if buildings get stormed? So what if cinder blocks are being thrown on police vehicles? So what? Hey, they're having fun. They're watching things get burned. What's the problem? They're doing donuts on motorcycles and waving the Mexican flag? Come on, what's the matter, you party poopers? And you sort of like, ugh. Now, this is what I'm telling you. You can see a change. This is not even, on a hot mic, the idiot said something he shouldn't have said. No, this is live. This is, like, what's wrong with everybody? Have you all lost your minds? So what? Okay, so downtown LA's burning, and your point being, they're having fun. We've become immune to riots. We've become immune to violence. We've become immune to torching cars and assaulting police officers and blocking traffic and burning down neighborhoods. It's very similar to what happened in 2020 with Black Lives Matter and Antifa. The left and the Democrats kept siding with the looters and the rioters and the insurrectionists, the terrorists, as they just burned down city after city. 36 civilians dead, a 4-year-old girl shot dead. And I'll never forget it. It was the most, one of the, to me, that I'll always remember this. There's a Wendy's burning. I mean, literally, it's completely engulfed in flames. And you have the CNN reporter right in front of it saying it's a mostly peaceful protest. And everyone's like, but the Wendy's behind you is going up in smoke. It's being burnt to the ground. Like, oh, mostly peaceful, nothing to see here. Peace. It's peace. I don't know what's happening. Honestly, I don't know if it's the loss of God among the left, the complete abandonment of God, the loss of a sense of right and wrong, the desensitization of life and property and civilization. I don't know if it's people addicted to their screens. I don't know if it's the dumbing down of America. Maybe it's a little bit of everything. I don't know. But to me, if I'm standing in a war zone with thousands of people rampaging, setting cars and vehicles on fire, chanting death to America, Viva Mexico, kill ICE, F ICE, and they're throwing cinder blocks at police and fireworks and trying to light them on fire. To me, that's not a party. That's not, hey, let's have some fun. That's not Mardi Gras. What you're watching, and there's just no other way I can describe it, it's almost like the collapse of civilization and all the standards and the norms, the values, the morals that underpin a civilization. Agree, disagree. Julie in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Julie, and welcome.
Okay. Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for taking my call.
My pleasure, Julie.
Jews, I do not even know where to start. 100%, you'd be a dummy to not know that this is completely being paid for and coordinated by the puppeteers, you know, the George Soros people. Also, all of these agitators that are, you know, we all know they're not really protesters, they're agitators. Half of them do not even know what they are protesting about. They don't know even what the problems are. And
okay, let's go right back to Julie in Quincy. Julie, you were making, I think, a very interesting point that many of these people that are out on the streets, they don't even probably even know what the hell they're protesting for. And Julie, I just want to read this to you, okay? And I'd love to get your reaction. So just exactly to your point. And by the way, the New York Post has a great story. I'm going right off of a New York Post story. So I'm not going to give you all of them because there's so many, but let me just give you two. So the people that they arrested a couple days ago at Home Depot and at this other business in Compton in Los Angeles that sparked all of these violent riots and this insurrection. And, you know, Bass and Newsom are like, they're at work. These are just people who want to pay their taxes, live their lives. Well, actually, no. That's a lie. Literally, they're gang members, sexual predators, drug traffickers, rapists, even mass murderers. Listen to this, okay? They arrested about 40. Okay, all of this over 40 illegal aliens. Just to give you a taste, okay? And I want to get, and to your point, Julie, I don't think any of the protesters know any of this. So, one of the people that was arrested was, again, an illegal alien from Vietnam. His name is Kung Chen Phan. He's now almost 50 years old. He's 49. And he was among those dozens of illegals arrested by ICE in LA over the weekend. Now, he has been convicted of carrying out a mass shooting at a high school graduation party in Southern California. And in particular, listen to this. He's an illegal alien. I guess he was going to this a high school graduation party. He was kicked out. This was in 1994. So what did he do? He came back with his fellow gang members, and they took semi-automatic rifles into the crowd. This was a high school graduation. And literally, bang, 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 bang. He killed two teenagers and wounded 7 others. 2 teenagers dead, 7 others wounded. Now, you may be asking, why is he even out of jail? Gavin Newsom released him. Early release. During COVID, he emptied out the prisons. And he knew he was an illegal. So he released a mass murderer, literally a mass murderer, out onto the streets. And so that's why, and ICE, he's one of the people that was arrested. Okay, a mass murderer. Let me just give you one more. Another criminal that was arrested in these weekend raids in L.A., 55-year-old Rolando Veneracion Enriquez. He's from the Philippines. Sentenced to 37 years in prison for assault with intent to commit rape and sexual penetration with a foreign object. My God, this guy's a sicko. This was in Pomona, California. Again, early release. Gavin Newsom emptied out the prisons. So I've just given you 2. One's a mass murderer. The other one's a sick rapist. There are child molesters convicted. All of them convicted. Child molesters, drug dealers, gangbangers. Now, my point to you is this, Julie. And this is what ICE is saying in the piece in the New York Post. They're like, this is who they're protesting for? This is what they're rioting for? These animals? These savage, violent criminals? Like what? You want them in your community? You want them working at Home Depot? You want them living next door to you? Is that what you want? You want a rapist next door to you? You want a mass murderer living on your street? You want gang members living, a block away from you? They think they're being lied to. That these are just these poor, innocent illegals who are trying to work and pay their taxes and feed their families. And, hey, they're just schlepping to go to Home Depot and to work their rear ends off. And there's ICE showing up. They have no clue what they're protesting and who they're protesting for. Julie, what say you?
I totally agree with you. I was watching a YouTube video over the weekend, and I watched it in real time, the ICE raid, and what those people were doing at that time was incomprehensible, and they were being interviewed, and the gentleman was asking them what happened, and the people literally were saying, I don't know, I just hate ICE, and I just hate Trump, and that's all they had to say. No other country, this is the last thing I'll say, on the face of this earth, could you ever walk over the border, be handed money, clothes, health care, education, and expect them to speak your language. No other country on the face of the earth. I'm not sure why America seems to be the exception, and everyone thinks that it should just be... And yes, this country was built on immigrants, but we did it legally. You did it legally. There's a big difference.
It's all the difference in the world. Julie, where do you think this is heading? There's talk now that Trump may have no choice but to declare martial law, at least for Los Angeles. Do you think he's going to have no choice?
I don't think he'll do that. However, I just hope to God someone out there is forming a Jan 6 style committee so that this can all be, properly investigated like they did with January 6th. Someone's definitely doing that right now, right?
I hope so. No, this is now the Democrats' J7. That's why I keep saying, keep referring to it as J7. This is their insurrection, and it makes January 6th look like a Sunday picnic. Julie, thank you very much for that call. Really good call. Jeremy in Wellesley. Thanks for holding, Jeremy, and welcome.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Jeremy.
I'm thinking multinational mercenaries with their ideological, on-the-ground conscripts with the usual patronage who make their calls, post, emails, and dog whistles. I'm thinking this is all part of it. I'm thinking this is really bad stuff with mercenaries.
Now, Jeremy, I'm just curious. Why? I'm not disputing it. I'm just asking. Why do you think you're seeing mercenaries in L.A.? What makes you say that?
Some of them might be being paid.
Oh, they're paid agitators. There's no question. But when I think mercenary, I'm thinking, a gun for hire. I'm thinking, soldiers of fortune. I'm thinking, whatever, like, Russian, I'm just, saying whatever, Russian or South African, special forces or something. But you're thinking more like, are these like Mexican drug cartels, like kind of stuff like this? In other words, some of their executioners, and maybe they have them now fomenting violence on the streets. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking what I'm seeing is people that obviously have been trained and prepared. There's been groundwork to basically poison people against this country. So they get their conscripts from that. You hear about people leaving political office throwing gold bars, as they say, off the side of the boat into the hands of people who hire people that are just waiting to be activists. And it sounds all to me like these are all mercenaries. And even if it's not like what you were just talking about, it's still as ugly. It's still as ugly. How many people want to be burned alive? And even if you're not burned alive, how many people want your property, your hard-earned, all the hours your work property destroyed?
That's a great point, Jeremy. I mean, these people really are. They're sick. Think about it, really. They want to burn. They're trying to burn police officers alive. They're trying to burn businesses, burn homes, crush officers, crush their heads with cement blocks. I mean, ay, ay, ay. I mean, that's evil. That's really evil. John in Groveland. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, John?
Good. Jeff, I'd like to make 2 points. And in my 2 points, I'm going to answer some questions that a couple callers just asked. First, we'll go to, I think it was Julie in Quincy. No, she said no other country invites illegal immigrants into their country and gives them lavish welfare benefits and all this stuff. And I'm going to answer to why I think it is. 99% of sanctuary cities and states are blue Democrat-run states and cities. And what they're doing is they're incentivizing illegals to come to these states with lavish welfare benefits. And you scratch your head, why are they doing this with taxpayer money? It comes down to the census. Because in the census, they count every single human, whether you're a citizen or not. And then that gives that blue Democrat state the chance for another seat in the House or the Senate. It's a very sneaky, manipulative, backdoor way of gaining power, political power. That's number one. Number two, Arthur said we need to nip this in the bud. Who's funding these violent protests and riots, seditious uprising against our government? And it's the Soros people. It's the singing gentleman that you mentioned. And how do you stop that? A couple people said, "Oh, Trump's got to declare martial law." Here's what you do, because I don't think our justice system has the stones to go after these people, Jeff, that are funding this. Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act, number one. That gives him the power to use the military, not just the Marine Corps or nationalize the National Guard, but the U.S. military. He can suspend habeas corpus. The U.S. military can now be used on our soil to round up illegals and deport them. Because remember, Jeff, no one's above the law, right? Didn't we hear that for 4 years? And to go after the head of the snake, to lop the head of the snake off, Jeff, Trump has declared the Insurrection Act. Now, the people that are funding this, he declares them enemy combatants of the United States of America. That takes it out of the DOJ, the justice system, and it's now military tribunals. There's no statute of limitations. They don't have due process because they're enemy combatants of the United States, basically terrorists. And that stops Soros. That stops Antifa. Trump knows how to do this, Jeff. You're telling me right now that Donald Trump and all the brilliant people he surrounded him with don't know who's funding these masks that are being handed out, these bricks, these pre-staged riots and bricks, and this coming Saturday all across the country. You don't think they know who's funding it? Of course they know who's funding it. And
John, look, John, I have to say, I think you really put your finger on it. And I like it. I really do. I like it. And it's take the gloves off approach. It's no more pussyfooting around here. No more beating around the bush. No more. We're not playing badminton anymore. This is going to be hardcore smash mouth football. And we're going to take it right to them. John, I'm just curious though, just to go back to something you said earlier. I agree with you, but I just want to flush it out a little bit more. Why is the DOJ? Why is Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or Dan Bongino or whoever, why are they afraid to go after George Soros or Neville Singham or, all these other people now, Christy Walton, from, that own one of the key owners of Walmart. What are they so afraid of? Just go after them. You're funding terrorism and violence and insurrection on American soil. It's a crime, and you're going to pay the price. What are they so afraid of, John?
I don't think it's so much that they're afraid. That I think it has to do with politics and money and power. And the military is outside of that. They're not about money, and they serve the president to protect and defend the Constitution and the people of this country. And what we're witnessing is an invasion. Mayorkas and Biden and the Democrats drove a stake through the heart of this Democrat republic that we have by letting in probably over 10 million unvetted illegals. And we got to, like you said, we have to take the gloves off. Take the gloves off, all right? Get these people out of our country. They broke the law to come here. And all these bleeding heart liberals, it's just working people that are paying their taxes. They're not criminals. Yet they broke the law to get here by not coming through a port of entry and being vetted. Therefore, they broke the law. They're criminals. No one's above the law. We heard that for 4 years, trying to go after Trump. No one's above the law. Go after him. No one's above the law. Jeff, they're defending the indefensible, the Democrats. And it's time that Trump take the gloves off, bring the military in, and once and for all, restore justice, integrity, and most of all, safety to protect the American citizens of this country.
Oh, I love it. John, I love it. And just to add to what you're saying, because I can only add at this point, the very same Democrats, the very same liberals, the very same leftists who say, how dare you even say that you should arrest Gavin Newsom? This is fascism. This is Hitler. Are the very same people who called for Trump to be arrested. So let me get this straight. You can arrest a former president and the leading presidential contender, but you can't arrest a treasonous governor? No. Bye-bye.